Hi, I'm Gemma, and this is a chat with Gemma. So I thought I'd talk about confidence today. Confidence is something I did not have when I was young. I was a pretty shy kid, and you know, a lot of things just used to make me squirm with embarrassment. I used to have this way of laughing after everybody else had finished laughing, that kind of thing. And then I'd be kind of still laughing when everybody else had well and truly long ago finished. And yeah, I didn't have the confidence to sort of speak up in a group and things like that. However, I sort of learnt by observing other people, and I learnt that you just have to kind of learn it like anything else that you would learn, like playing the piano or learning how to tap dance or something like that. But I remember a psychologist telling me when I was talking about how I had a hard time with this particular um, man who was in a managerial position. He wasn't the top person, but he was in a position of some management. And she said, "Oh, I'm developing a theory about how there are these men who like to go after young women who are confident and, you know, self-sufficient and all of that." And I said, "Well, I wasn't confident." And she said, "No, but because I was very independent, and I was living alone, and I had a horse and all of that." And her theory was that there was some men who kind of go after those women. And I remember there was a woman employed for a while to, I think she's back doing this now, but she was employed to, when women weren't playing football and things like that, except very much in the background, not on TV or anything like it is now. But she was employed, one woman, to comment on the football games, be a commentator. And I can remember seeing something. I actually, heard her commentate, and I thought, that's interesting. She's got a kind of a different way of commentating. It's just different, just interesting. Good, I liked it. It was something a little bit original, And then I was seeing these little articles in the paper about, "I can't stand that woman's voice," and different things like that. And so these miserable guys basically had her sacked. They just complained and whinged and whined about, "Oh my goodness, these poor bleeps had to put up with the sound of a female's voice." Now, she didn't have, because I remember thinking, oh, she can't annoy anybody, because that was always the thing, we can't listen to a woman commentating a men's game. And she didn't have "Hi, Screechy, what is it? What, John, you're crazy." She had quite a low, pleasant tone and everything. But by jingers, these blokes went mad, And I can remember thinking, but who cares what they think? Because there's all of us. And I think one time, statistically speaking, something like, 52% of the Australian population was female and the rest were male. So why was this important? That the blokes were losing their hair over this one woman, commentating the football when she was doing a perfectly good job. So there is a thing. There really is a thing that you have these fellas, And I'm going back a bit now, so young people might not know who I'm talking about, but there was a tennis player, and I'm not going to be able to remember her name. She was on TV recently, actually. That's why I think she came to my mind. But I think she was French, and she used to sort of screech every time she hit the ball. So she would whack the ball with everything she had every single time. And there's a lot of comments about the fact that she screeched. And, she was a pretty enough girl, but she used to sort of flail her legs out like that when she'd stand waiting for the ball. She did not look like she was athletic at all. You think, when the ball comes near her, what is going to happen? She's not going to be able to do anything. But she used to just, from a very young age, she used to just annihilate the other tennis players, and she, was a very good tennis player. Anyway, she was playing Steffi Graf. Now, I remember her name. Now, Steffi Graf is a beautifully proportioned, beautiful, athletic, just a lovely, put-together woman. And there was some guy in the audience who was in love with Steffi Graf, but this other tennis player started, was winning the game, and so he stabbed her. So he tried, a grown man tried to murder this slender girl, which is what she was really. I think she might have been, maybe she was in her 20s, I don't know, but she's barely an adult, because he had some bee in his bonnet. And I can't remember if she ever played tennis ever again, but her life was over. Her career of being, top seed or whatever it is, seed number one or whatever, winning, trophies, that was gone. She might have come back and played for a while, but So he ruined her life. He absolutely ruined her life. And I think she does something completely different for a job now. So anyway, so it's a strange thing that when females are confident, that it really gets right up the noses of some people. So I learnt confidence just by sheer, I suppose, necessity. And because I was so naturally lacking in confidence, and my mother did not like me to be confident. So, she kind of dampened down any sort of signs of, confidence. And so, and probably genetically I was like that as well. But as time went on, I did develop the skill. I just kind of made myself learn it. And it's something that I advise all females to have. So you don't want to get attacked. You don't want people to, make life miserable for you, criticise you, all those things. But it is handy. If you're going to get anywhere in life, you have to have a certain belief in your abilities. So if you're going to get up and play the piano in front of an audience, you better be confident. You better have practiced it enough, and you better know that you have the ability, this piece of music is within your ability to play, and sit down at the piano and know you can do this. If you're going to work in some sort of business, and maybe occasionally you might be required to lead a meeting or teach the rest of the staff something that you went off and learnt in some in-service, so in other words, public speaking kind of situation, then you better have some sort of confidence in yourself, in the fact that you learnt something and you're able to speak it in such a way that people will understand it and learn it from you. So you need confidence for all kinds of things. Now, then on the other hand, there are those who, in Australia, certainly we've got the tall poppy syndrome. I think things are, maybe not everywhere, but in America things seem to be very, very different. So you have these girls and women in particular, and boys and men, that just seem to grow up with this monumental confidence in themselves. And it's the way they're parented, the way they're taught, coached in whatever their thing is, whether it's music or, a sports or something. they're kind of coached that way that they have supreme confidence in themselves. That doesn't really happen so much in Australia. It's more that if you are confident, people want to shoot you down. I remember there was a darling girl who used to teach her piano, and she lived in a rough area. And I can remember her sort of sitting down with me at the end of the lesson and saying, you know, she went to a rough school in that area. She played a game of netball that day, and she was playing as hard as she could, and she played well. And when the game was over, she found that her pair of jeans had been, I think they'd been stuffed down a toilet or something. So she was like, you know, you're a dag if you try, kind of thing. So that was the attitude. People didn't like it because she played well, she tried hard, she did her best. So that's kind of what it's been like in the culture of Australia and in a lot of places. And I'm sure it happens around the world in different degrees and different ways. But, you know, I do look at some older women, even than myself. Yes, it's possible. And, you know, little skinny women, and I'm quite sturdy because I do a lot of exercise and gardening and stuff, and I used to have horses, so I'm fairly robust and weigh a bit. But I'm looking at ladies that are really quite fragile, slender, and they're almost apologetic for taking up the little bit of space that they take up. They have this air of, oh, you know, may I breathe in and out kind of thing. There's not really any confidence there. And on the one hand, there's modesty and there's humility, and those are good things, they're Christian things. But on the other hand, sometimes we need to, you know, own the space that we need to stand in. And anyway, that's my opinion. But, look, this can happen for boys as well. So I'm sort of directing this, I suppose, to girls, but there are certain types of fellas that this happens to as well. Because I know there was a guy who was like kind of agoraphobic. He wouldn't go almost anywhere. So he ideally wanted to go to, say, to a soccer game. But he didn't have the confidence just to go out the door and go to something like a soccer game because it was just too, I don't know, intimidating, scary, whatever it was for him. And so he just lacked that confidence to go. So I think it's a good thing to develop confidence, to not overstretch yourself. So if you're going to perform something or whatever it is that you want to do, or you want to go to some event and you're a bit scared to go, make sure it is within your abilities to do, and plan, practice, whatever it is that you need to do beforehand. So if I'm going to an event, I'm going to be looking at maps and working out where there's parking, or, you know, how I'm going to get there and get home again and all of that. So, and then go ahead and do it with confidence. And it's something that you learn it like anything else. Just like you went and learnt maths at school, or English or science, or history, or whatever it was. So you just got to learn this. But particularly females, you sort of at the same time have to watch out, because there are those males, and maybe even some females, who don't like it. So you don't want to come across as being full of yourself and all of that, of course. But at the same time, you are entitled to your bit of breathing air and bit of space that you take up with your 2 feet. You're equally entitled to that, just as any man is, you know. I remember when I started going to this, I'd never been to a gym before in my life, and I always just rode my bike on the roads, and I went to a swimming pool once a week, and I used to go 4 times a week. And then I sort of would do cycling on the roads and a bit of jogging for my exercise. And then I got a bit old, and I thought, time to, get out of the sun, get out of the night with the wind blowing rain in my face and all those sorts of things. It was quite dangerous. So I, decided to join a gym. But I remember when I first went into the gym part, not the swimming pool, because that was where I only ever went before, and feeling like, I have to tiptoe around these. So I think I might have been the only woman on this particular occasion. And I remember thinking, he might be wanting that thing and I'm going towards it. Better let him have it or something. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm paying money to be here. He's paying money to be here. There's no difference. It's not a jocks. The jocks don't own this place. And the next time I was there are mostly women. I think there might have been all women and one man, or all women. I can't remember. And I thought, this is a different vibe now. This is quite different. And so I got over that kind of tiptoeing around kind of thing. And I started to sort of observe other people. And I would notice that, the kind of puny guy, and I'd think, he looks like I was when I first came here, kind of apologetic for being here, or maybe I'm out of place, or I'm the wrong shape to be here, things like that. And I started to notice that there are different people, all in their own little worlds, probably all feeling insecure in their own little ways. So it's all nonsense. You deserve the bit of breathing air that's around you. You deserve the bit of, the equipment that you're using, that you've paid to use. You're equal to the next person. You're not above anybody. You're certainly not below anybody. You're the same. So we do have to be confident in ourselves. We do have to, I think, probably watch our backs, look behind us sometimes, and watch out for those people that maybe don't like that, particularly in the case of a female. It might be those sort of fellas that the psychologist was talking about. But you need to be ready to stand up for yourself and say, no, this is not appropriate. What you're saying is just makes no sense. And it's not just, it's not right, it's not fair. And, you're being superior and egotistical right now, and you don't have any right to be. And stick up for yourself and stand your ground. Don't get into a physical fight with anybody, just verbally stand your ground. And if you need to take a big burly guy along with you occasionally to wherever it is, then do that. Show a bit of, bring a bit of muscle with you if you need to. We all have to look after ourselves in certain situations, because a lot of people out there haven't grown up yet, haven't become civilised. All right, hope you're well, not too lonely, and bye for now.